Our program is for the last 20 years working with youth uh, in the way of healthy spirituality, in the way of healthy mentality, uh, working on the healthy physical care and emotional care. And our program is basically called the Discovery Program. And the Discovery Program entails on through through elder mentoring, through elder advocacy, to link back youth to their identity. This is specifically regarding Aboriginal youth. And from way back in the past, because of the interruption of, I guess, European governments or Christianity, uh, the Native people were assimilated, and a lot was lost on our traditional values and our way of life. So our program is basically to rediscover identity, to rediscover language, and to link uh, students, youth, back to their roots, so that they can be proud of who they are and that they can rediscover their identity. The age group that we are working with would be a grade level of grade 7, grade 8, grade 9. And all those age groups would be basically from 13 to 15 years of age. The aim of the program is to we teach values through talking circles, the medicine wheel concept, holistic, holistic protocols, ceremony, and our main purpose is to teach youth healthy ways of dealing with life by motivational talks, by participation in talking circles that have to do with healthy relationships, establishing a sacred relationship with elders or caregivers, guardians that act in the capacity of parents, and to teach these youth healthy behaviors. As you know, nowadays in society, as we look at the realities of life, I would say about 80 to 90% of our people are incarcerated and in jails. And this comes, realistically thinking, it's because people have learned habits in many different ways that have to do with social dysfunction, addictions, a lot of unhealthy behaviors. So our main purpose, I think, with this program is to get students involved by, by providing a safe environment, first of all, by building trust and respect, by listening to the youth and having them listen to elders that work firsthand with them through a lot of oral teachings, and also by sharing, taking the risk to share in a talking circle about such topics as history, traditional native parenting that has long since been forgotten, through speaking about such topics as bullying issues, cyberbullying, addictions, and what addictions would do to you, by real life situations as the care of little babies, for instance, and the responsibilities that go with childcare in real life, uh, by promoting and encouraging education, which I might quote came from teachings from one of my elders a long time ago, who was my own mentor, and he said that education is a gift, and new learnings in life are a gift from the Creator. When you learn something through oral history or by listening, and he used to say that when the Creator gave us this mind to focus, to learn, whether it's experimental, experiential, uh, we, we learn from that. And so because the Creator gave us this, then it becomes ceremony. And he used to say the greatest gifts what we can give to each other in this world are the one of love and the one of kindness, forgiveness, and sharing and caring. And uh, those teachings have always stayed with me. And I try to, as a mentor and role model and leader, I try to pass these on by example and by conversation and talking with the youth. And one has to be patient and very kind. So when the kids are in the circle, and we talk about the circle of life and the journeys that we make in life, then through time, in a year's time, they might be able to get a concept of what we're talking about when we, about healthy mentality, healthy spirituality, taking care of the physical, and being able to laugh, being able to cry. And all these take time, but eventually the kids begin to understand. And we talk to them about the protocols of ceremony, which is very important. What is important in the way of how we say a pipe ceremony, for instance, or the daily use of sweetgrass, the cleansing ceremony, the cleansing medicines, and how cleanliness in life, living a clean life, is important, and valuing yourself. So all these are all about connection and relationship, and it's hard to explain in just verbal dialogue, but when we actually practice it in the action circles, it really works wonders. And so we talk about realities of what the goal or the vision that you have and the purpose of life, and what it entails to be successful. It's not much different from the concept of success of going to university or any other colleges. But for me, success, I always say this, is judging from our history and being a residential school survivor and being stereotyped as a savage or never learned anything, that I was stupid and dumb, that when I have the self-esteem and when I abide by the traditional teachings, it makes me proud of who I am, and also being very articulate in my Cree language, which I know very well. And so these are very important for me because it's made a big life change. And judging from the fact that I come from also as an adult child of alcoholics, and through the experiences of trauma and a lot of suicide in the family, and that's another topic that we talk about, I'm able to identify with the kids. I'm able to share life experience, and that there is hope, and how one person, individual, can change their life to positives. And so with my own mentor, Elder, and when I was searching for assistance or help in all those areas, I was able to change my life to where it's peaceful now. I have harmony. Indigenous education, it's a term that I'm not really familiar with. I think people can learn in different ways. For the youth that I work with, many times the expectations of assessments and evaluations and marks determine how successful you are from the systematic approach. And because English is not our first language, for instance, for me anyway, I still have a hard time understanding that language and the words and what's expected of me. Because sometimes to adapt to another culture is difficult, especially in mathematics. I see differences in how a person, like a native student, would work with their hands and how skilled they are with their hands and sight. rather than a theoretical journey. So there's I guess, a fine line in describing Indigenous education, and I do know that even people that I know in the community that were deemed illiterate were not really illiterate. They were very knowledgeable in the medicines, for instance, and how they could identify plants and how they could live their lifestyle in a different environment, like in the bush, survival skills, whereas somebody from the university would have a hard time understanding that concept. So Indigenous education, I guess, is also really knowing the truth. When people say truth and reconciliation, what is the truth? People say we honor Treaty 6 territory. To me, that's become a token statement that is said quite often. What action is being done to back up that statement? Reconciliation. The Prime Minister has said it. But what action is taken to support the history first of the Native people and what they've undergone and how those short-term, long-term effects of European thinking and Christianity thinking has affected our people? And that's still, this is the seventh generation, and that still affects our people today. So one has to, like I said before, use that humanitarianism and be patient, because I have learned to use technology, but I'm still slow at it. But what keeps me strong is my native beliefs and my native spirituality and pride in the culture. And just by technology today, reading, watching media, the news, I'm able to understand a lot of things about the world. I may not be able to read really good, I may not know all the high terminology that people use, but I certainly use my ears and listen and know what the world is about. I've been at the convocations at the university in the past where we honor graduates of degrees. I've seen more people getting honored with doctorates, like, for example, Alexandria, famous artist, and has some of his art with Rogers Place in Edmonton. But he's really well known, and I see more medical doctors. I see more nurses. I see more teachers of our own people teaching our own people. Professionals, lawyers, Willie Littlechild. And a lot of the self-identified successes of these graduates, I hope that our young people will move towards that. And I see more in the convocations all the time, getting degrees. And eventually, that's going to change to where people will know about what the modern day world is like, but also to be able to know their roots and where they come from, and to be able to voice that it will eliminate the stereotypes that Native people are dumb, that Native people don't pay taxes, that Native people are all welfare recipients. Because what some people see as the problems that are downtown, and homelessness, and a lot of Aboriginal people, are not what all people are about. It's all a lot of stereotyping. It's true, there's a lot that have fallen through the cracks, but who has been there to help them? You know, and that's the sadness of it. And those are the ones whose spirits have been broken time and time again. And that's a norm for them. They don't know any other lifestyle. But on the same side of the coin, how often are Native successes recognized by media? It's always about the negative stuff that happens in society. And all these successes should be celebrated. I'll use a very simple example. One of the things I know, one of the institutions that I know, like at NATE, is to make a calendar of successful students and role models. And by advertising this in a calendar and having students that are in present day schools seeing this, will give them that motivation that people are getting somewhere. The other thing, in our own gym, in our recreation, sports, we have a wall full of successful Aboriginal athletes like Jordan Tutu, Nolan. We have about 15 different pictures. Aldwin Morris, Mills, Olympic heroes that were instrumental in motivating youth and, you know, saying, like Aldwin Morris said, he was a kayaker. He says, he held an eagle feather up and he says, if you have it in you to dream, you have it in you to succeed. So myself, growing up, I remember all these heroes, and I have listened to Billy Mills in the Olympics, and I have met the man, and he was a motivational speaker at a conference, and which gave me the self-confidence to, you know, do better in life. And I was a first in my own, like working in Edmonton ambulance, and I was a minority. I was alone in high school to take a risk to leave the reservation, and you know, through a lot of odds and a lot of cultural shock, I was able to succeed, and I guess that would be an example. So a lot of celebrations of Native famous people. Wilton Littlechild, who was very instrumental in bringing about the Alberta Healing Foundation, and you know, through the courts, having the government apologize to Native people for the residential school era, and also reimbursing financially, although I didn't think it really helped Native people. I think that the most help comes from people wanting to help themselves by the lifestyle that they live, and by I think elders really are instrumental in many cases to advocate for young people, if they're knowledgeable in the way of technology. But they all, different elders have different gifts that they can offer.